3 years into our marriage, Ethan casually suggested a fake divorce, but a cold smile played on my lips. He assumed I was still deeply in love with him, and so, he nonchalantly said, "I'm marrying Chloe to get the child registered for a birth certificate, then we can remarry, okay?" Chloe was his cherished first love. But little did he know, this arrogant proposal was precisely the liberation I had been longing for. Before we continue, please subscribe to this channel and let us know in the comments where you're listening from. Today marked our 3rd wedding anniversary. I had reserved a private dining room and invited all my good friends. My friends raised their glasses, wishing us a lifetime together. I shyly accepted their blessings, my face alight with happiness. During the banquet, I quietly excused myself, bringing out the cake I had personally made. I gently placed it in front of Ethan, and looked at him tenderly. "Happy 3rd anniversary, darling. Thank you for always being by my side," but remained his usual impassive self. He merely nodded slightly, and my heart ached faintly. Ever since I discovered his secret, he had been this cold. I kept telling myself that I was still in his heart. However, as we were cutting the cake, Ethan's expression suddenly changed after he answered a phone call. He then grabbed his jacket and rushed out, leaving only a room full of friends and me. I stood frozen. All eyes from my friends were on me. My face was pale, but I forced myself to remain calm. Ethan must have had an emergency. He'll be back soon. These words were both an explanation to them and a comfort to myself. I looked at the cake before me, my fingers unconsciously rubbing the band-aid. I had spent an entire morning meticulously preparing this cake. Fortunately, Ethan didn't keep me waiting too long, but he wasn't alone, a woman returned with him. I narrowed my eyes and asked tentatively, "And who is this?" Ethan seemed quite impatient. "Chloe, my SEC. Readery." I nodded, my heart a mix of emotions. Chloe, his former first love, how could I not recognize her? I said subtly, bringing Chloe to an occasion like this seems a bit inappropriate, doesn't it? Ethan's brows furrowed, and he chastised me in a low voice. "What's inappropriate?" "Grace, when did you become so dramatic?" He pulled Chloe to a seat, leaving me standing alone across from them. Catching a glimpse of his friend's eyes, I instantly understood they had known all along and were just covering for Ethan. I had wanted to peacefully get through this anniversary today, and finish this cake completely, but wouldn't give me that chance. Soon after sitting down, Chloe claimed she felt unwell. Ethan immediately panicked, insisting on taking her away. Before leaving, he seemed to remember me, his wife, a flicker of hesitation in his eyes, unsure how to speak to me. I glanced at Chloe. Her face was rosy, and she looked perfectly energetic. There wasn't a hint of discomfort about her. Yet I played along with his words, pretending concern. "Quickly, take Miss Chloe to the hospital. Don't delay." Upon hearing my words, Chloe clung to Ethan's arm, feigning distress. Ethan's face instantly darkened. He snapped, "Grace, why have you become so unreasonable? I was going to come back for you, but now, just go on your own." With that, he wrapped his arm around Chloe's waist and slammed the door shut as they left. I helplessly tugged at the corner of my mouth, then turned and threw the cake into the trash. There was no point in eating this cake anymore. And as for Ethan, I didn't want him either. After a brief farewell to Ethan's friends, I left alone. I hailed a taxi by the roadside. Taking a deep breath, I dialed Mom's phone number. "Mom, I've decided. I'm divorcing Ethan." Mom was first surprised to hear this, then worried if something had happened to me. Finally, I couldn't hold it in any longer, and poured out all the grievances I had endured recently. "My child, you suffered enough. Mom will start making arrangements right away. That is truly despicable. My precious daughter is my precious daughter, and how dare he fool around outside?" After chatting with Mom for a few more minutes, I hung up the phone. Actually, Mom had urged me to divorce for a long time. She said Ethan wasn't a good match. But back then, I was blinded by love, insisting on marrying no one but him. Now, my heart was utterly exhausted. Returning home, I was surprised to find Ethan's car parked outside. My heart jolted. Had he come back? I took out my key and opened the door, but the sight before me made me freeze. Right by the entryway were a pair of black high heels and a pair of men's dress shoes. I never wore high heels, so the owner of these shoes was obvious. I looked up, and only then noticed clothes scattered all the way from the entryway to the living room, and into the bedroom. Following the trail of clothes, I walked step by step to the bedroom door. The door was ajar, and the last piece of clothing was a black thong. Ethan was so ridiculous, he actually brought Chloe home. Suppressing my tears and fury, I secretly took photos of everything. The intimate sounds coming from the bedroom made my heart clench in pain. After collecting the evidence, I quietly left. On the soft bed in the hotel, I tossed and turned, unable to stop thinking about the sweet times I once shared with Ethan. We had once had a period of undeniable closeness. However, everything subtly changed after I entered his home office, a place he never allowed me into. His home office was always kept tightly closed, but that day, I unexpectedly found the door slightly ajar. I called out to him a few times, but there was no answer. I intended to help close the door, but then I noticed a sticker on the desk. It read, "My dearest Chloe," with the rest of the text obscured, sparking my curiosity. Pushing the door open, the full sticker made me freeze, "My dearest Chloe." Next to it as a photo, showing a woman with black hair and bangs, a sweet smile on her face. Chloe? The name felt strange and jarring to me. My gaze shifted, and I noticed a journal lying on the desk. It seemed to be Ethan's diary. I couldn't help but open it. With every page I turned, my heart sank deeper. The journal was filled with deep affections for Chloe, yet I, his wife, was nowhere to be found in its pages. My heart was twisting in agony, when Ethan suddenly burst in. Seeing me holding the journal, his expression turned frantic. "Grace, put that down." I demanded to know who Chloe was. His face hardened. "Grace, don't push it. Who is, you don't need to know." After saying that, he snatched the journal from me, clutching it tightly as if it were his most precious treasure. "Get out." His words were cold and absolute. I was stunned. He was telling me to get out? In all these years, he had never been so crude to me. Seeing me frozen in place, he actually laid hands on me, pushing me. I stumbled backward as he shoved me out of the home office, and I fell at the doorway. Looking up, he cast an emotionless glance at me, then slammed the door shut with a bang. From that day on, he began giving me the silent treatment, and it had continued until today. But now, nothing mattered. I had decided to give up on him. A tainted man, like a rotten cucumber, would only inspire disgust. The next day, I went home to pack my things. As soon as I opened the door, a waft of cooking filled the air. I walked further inside, and found Ethan actually cooking in the kitchen. Hearing me, he turned and looked at me, a clear flicker of panic in his eyes. "Grace, why are you back?" I found it amusing. "This is my home, can't I come back?" Ethan frowned. "That's not what I meant." I ignored him, wanting to go to the bedroom to retrieve my belongings, but Ethan frantically blocked my way. I was puzzled. Hadn't Chloe left yet? But I had just seen that the high heels were no longer by the entryway. Ethan's expression suddenly changed, becoming like it used to be. He gently took my arm and led me to the dining room. He pulled out a chair for me, then placed his hands on my shoulders. I didn't understand what he was doing but sat down instinctively. He went to the kitchen and brought out a pot of congee, smiling as he served me a bowl. "Taste this, Grace. Your husband made this special breakfast just for you." I stirred the congee in the bowl with my spoon, and couldn't help but let out a cold laugh. Ethan's face twisted slightly, and he unhappily slammed his hand on the table. "Grace, why are you so bad-tempered? I kindly made you congee, and you won't drink it?" Without hesitation, I slammed the spoon onto the floor, startling Ethan. Just as he was about to scold me, I spoke first. "Ethan, after 3 years together, don't you know I'm allergic to seafood? Are you trying to kill me by specifically making me seafood congee?" Ethan immediately deflated. He stammered, "I'm sorry, Grace, I forgot." I was utterly disappointed in Ethan. He couldn't remember anything I didn't eat or was allergic to, but he remembered perfectly well what Chloe liked and didn't like. I took an apple from the refrigerator and ate it, without even looking at Ethan. I left home and returned to the hotel, thinking about how to file for divorce. I was worried I didn't have enough evidence. While I was troubled, Ethan suddenly called me. "Grace, there's something I need to discuss with you. Can we meet?" I was concise. "Speak." Ethan paused, then sounded a bit hurt. "Grace, why are you so cold to me now?" I didn't want him to suspect anything for now, so I pretended to be my usual self. "What are you talking about?" "Darling, just tell me what's on your mind." At my words, Ethan quickly dropped his concern about my attitude, and went on to say, "It's just that I want us to have a fake divorce first. Then I'll marry Chloe, get the child registered for a birth certificate, and after that, we can remarry, okay?" I paused, then burst out laughing. It was like someone handing you a pillow exactly when you were sleepy. Ethan was puzzled. "What are you laughing at?" I suppressed my laughter and feigned calmness. "Nothing. When should we go to the county's office?" Ethan eagerly replied, "Let's make it tomorrow then." I agreed promptly. Ethan felt something was off. "Grace? Aren't you angry?" I thought, since he had brought it up himself, I shouldn't let him suspect anything. So I feigned a wrong tone. Oh, darling, I understand. Miss Chloe is a pitiful person too. This little bit of grievance is nothing. Seeing me respond this way, Ethan finally relaxed. Afterward, I half-heartedly agreed with Ethan a few times, making him incredibly happy. After hanging up the phone, I couldn't help but laugh to myself. How could Ethan even dare to make such a request? If this were in the past, I would have thrown a fit and made a scene, begging him not to divorce. The result probably would have been him finding me annoying, coercing, and bribing me to divorce anyway. But now, his request was exactly what I wanted. However, Chloe got pregnant so quickly. It seemed they had been together behind my back quite a lot. I called Mom. Mom, you don't need to worry. Ethan volunteered to divorce me. Mom got furious. What's wrong with that, Ethan? How dare he even suggest it? Seeing her reaction, I quickly explained the whole story to Mom. Only then did Mom understand. That is such a piece of work, and he's even willing to be a naive fool. My precious daughter has suffered too much. I laughed and joked with Mom for a bit, to steer the conversation away from that topic. As we talked, Mom suddenly let out a sigh. I quickly asked what was wrong. Mom then sighed. I don't know if you still remember Leo? That boy used to like you. 3 years ago, when he heard you got married, he just went abroad. Recently, he heard you're getting divorced and came back. It seems he still has feelings for you. The family is doing quite well now. If we form an alliance through marriage, we wouldn't be at a disadvantage. See if you have any thoughts on it. If not, I'll tell Leo you're not interested. I was startled. Leo? In my memory, he was still like he was in college. After all, it had been 3 years since we last met. I fell silent. Mom thought I was refusing, and was about to say she'd tell Leo's family to forget about it. But the next second, I suddenly spoke, my voice not loud, but remarkably clear. Mom, then arrange for us to meet. Mom was taken aback, then, after a moment, she repeatedly said, good. Finally, we arranged to meet the day after tomorrow at noon. I smiled and agreed, and Mom happily hung up. I looked at my phone, and couldn't help but feel excited about my future life. The next morning, I got ready early and went to the county's office. Ethan hadn't arrived yet, so I played on my phone in the car for a while. As I was playing, I glanced at the time. It was already 10 o'clock. Ethan still hadn't shown up, and I felt annoyed. I called Ethan. The phone rang for almost a minute before it was answered. Impatiently, I asked, Ethan, what are you doing? Before I could finish, I heard intimate sounds from the other end of the line. Chloe giggled, telling Ethan to be gentle. My face expressionless, I was about to hang up. Just then, I saw an old man vendor selling popsicles nearby. His loudspeaker kept repeating popsicles, popsicles. An idea sparked in my mind. I got out of the car and negotiated with the old man vendor. Ultimately, I gave him 1,000 yuan to buy the right to use his loudspeaker. I tied the loudspeaker to my car's rearview mirror. Then I placed my phone near the loudspeaker. Immediately, Ethan and Chloe's voices were broadcast through the large loudspeaker. I curled my lips into a smile, and slowly picked up a fashion magazine nearby. I browsed it while waiting for Ethan. Another hour passed. Ethan finally arrived, tardy as ever. I swiftly saw Ethan approaching and turned off the loudspeaker. Ethan was looking around the county's office entrance when I finally appeared, holding the loudspeaker. He truly made no effort to hide anything. The lipstick stain on his collar wasn't even wiped off, and the hickey on his neck was quite obvious. He asked me, puzzled, why are you holding a loudspeaker? I replied that it was nothing, and returned the loudspeaker to the old man vendor. Seeing me done, Ethan just said let's go and walked ahead by himself. Behind him, I suddenly pretended to sprain my ankle, and called out Ethan's name loudly. Ethan impatiently turned back. What now? Out of the corner of my eye, I saw that many people had already noticed Ethan, and a smile touched my lips. After all, the loudspeaker had amplified everything he and Chloe had said just moments ago. Chloe had certainly called him Sweetheart Ethan quite a lot. I stood up and limped over to Ethan. I'm fine now. Ethan glanced at me, a smug look suddenly on his face. You're not regretting it now, are you? Don't want the divorce anymore? Playing little tricks to get my attention? Grace, you said you were so free on the phone, but you still can't let go of me, can you? Let me tell you, don't waste your efforts. The divorce is happening today. I looked at Ethan, and suddenly thought of the day we got our marriage certificate 3 years ago. His eyes full of love, he happily held my hand and said he was committing to me for this lifetime, that we would never be separated, and only death would part us, not life. Thinking about it now, it was truly laughable. As we walked further inside, more and more people were looking at Ethan. Ethan probably found it strange. He frowned, wondering what was going on. I secretly chuckled behind his back. The process was quite fast, but we still had to wait for the 30-day divorce cooling-off period. We then went our separate ways. To celebrate my impending freedom from Hat scumbag, a few friends threw it out with the old, in with the new party for me, insisting that I had to be there. I agreed, finding it both funny and touching. I drove there immediately. Outside the reserved private dining room, just as I was about to push the door open, I heard someone call my name. I instinctively turned around. To my surprise, I saw Chloe. She looked surprised to see me too, and walked towards me. I can't believe it's really you, Grace. Why are you here? Are you here to party? After speaking, she looked me up and down, then let out a contemptuous laugh. Looking at your outfit, it doesn't seem like you're here to party. You're here for Ethan, aren't you? Ethan was here too? I instinctively frowned. How unlucky, but took my frown as an affirmation. She smiled and suddenly enthusiastically pulled me in another direction. Curious what she was up to, I followed. She pulled me into a private dining room. The moment I stepped inside, everyone present fell silent. Look, everyone, Grace is here too. Chloe let go of my hand and ran to Ethan's side, her face radiant with a smile. Ethan seemed a bit embarrassed. He actively removed Chloe's hand, and looked at me. Grace, how did you know I was here? I pointed at Chloe. I didn't know. She brought me here. Chloe looked bewildered, and quickly explained. I saw Grace standing outside our private dining room and thought she was looking for Ethan. I didn't say anything. Ethan suddenly looked smug. He said to me, as if bestowing a favor, since you're here, have a seat. Today is a memorable day. Grace, enjoy yourself. I felt a surge of nausea. How could Ethan have the nerve to say such a thing? What memorable day? The day we decided to divorce? I didn't want to deal with him and was about to leave, but unexpectedly, he suddenly stepped forward and grabbed me. Grace, are you angry? What, you can't bear to leave me? Are you playing hard to get, hoping I'll withdraw the divorce petition? As he SPO. He poured a particularly strong alcoholic drink for me, and I, unable to break free, had no choice but to swallow it. After hearing his words, I laughed, purely out of exasperation. How had I never noticed how shameless Ethan was before? Seeing I remained silent, Ethan thought he had hit a nerve. He continued, confidently, let me tell you, Grace, forget fake divorce. Even if it's a real divorce, you'll have to endure it. This is all your own doing, for always being disobedient. But seeing how obedient you are about this matter, I'm willing to give you a gift. Tell me, do you want money or a bag? Before I could answer, I suddenly felt an unbearable abdominal pain. I clutched the doorframe, wanting to leave. Ethan pulled me back, not letting me go. My face was drenched in sweat from the pain. Mustering strength from somewhere, I suddenly shook off Ethan and headed out. Holding my breath, when I reached my friend's private dining room, I only managed to utter, "Take me to the hospital," before collapsing. When I woke up, my best friend, Sarah, was looking at me, her eyes red as if she'd been crying. I was puzzled and asked her, "Why are you crying?" Sarah covered her face and told me, "Grace, you had a miscarriage." I froze, instinctively touching my belly. I was pregnant? I had no idea about this. I hadn't had any pregnancy symptoms, and my irregular periods meant I never even considered it. But wouldn't lie to me. I stared blankly at Sarah. Really? Sarah nodded. I lay back, staring at the ceiling, my hand over my belly, numbly. So there had been a tiny life here once, but I hadn't protected it well. Sarah couldn't hold back anymore, and cried into my ear. The doctor said your health hasn't been good lately, and your emotions have been too volatile, which already put you at risk. Then you drank strong alcohol, and that's why it happened. I remembered. It was the glass Ethan had forced me to drink. Tears welled up, unstoppable. Ethan, our child was killed by your own hand. Are you satisfied now? I turned to Sarah. This stays between you and me. Don't tell anyone else. Let's just pretend this child never existed. A month passed in a flash, and I was discharged from the hospital without complications. Ethan and I went to the county's office again. Walking out, holding the divorce decree in my hand, I suddenly smiled. At that moment, I finally felt reborn. After the divorce was finalized, Ethan and I were about to part ways at the county's office entrance. As I was leaving, Ethan suddenly called out to me. He seemed hesitant. Impatient, I told him to just say what he wanted. He seemed unaccustomed to my tone, and frowned. Tonight, I'll take you to the restaurant. As a reward for your cooperation, I'll treat you to dinner with me. I laughed out loud at his words, and shook the divorce decree in my hand, mocking him. Ethan, we're already divorced. Understand your place. Ethan frowned. Grace, what are you pretending? Weren't we supposed to have a fake divorce? I smiled even more brightly. You're already so tainted. Why would I fake a divorce with you? Isn't a real divorce better? Ethan was uncharacteristically flustered. He reached out to grab my hand. Grace, stop messing around. It's a fake divorce, right? I slowly pried his fingers off my hand, just as he had once pried my hand away to go to Chloe. I enunciated each word clearly. Ethan, we're over. After that day, I left quickly. Ethan then realized what had happened and began incessantly calling and texting me. I ignored them all, deleting and blocking him in one swift move. Seriously, if he regretted it now, what had he been doing before? Meanwhile, I returned to my family and officially took over the family business. During this time, I also made time to meet with Leo. The cheerful and lively boy from back then had grown into the quiet and reserved heir to the G. Mom said he liked me, but he seemed so cold and unapproachable. I didn't want to date Anova, our emotionally distant person, so I refused to continue contact. Who would have thought that day, after finishing work at the office and getting my car to go home, I would run into Ethan in the parking lot. Ethan was leaning against my car. He looked up only after my car lights flashed twice, and a flicker of surprise crossed his eyes as he saw me. Grace, why did you block me? I couldn't reach you at all. I finally found you. I remained unmoved. What do you want? Ethan tried to take my hand, but I sidestepped, avoiding him. A hint of hurt crossed Ethan's eyes. Grace, what's wrong? Why are you so cold to me now? I sneered. Is this amusing, Ethan? You're wasting my time here. Don't bother me anymore, whether you have something to say or not. We're over. The words "we're over" seemed to provoke Ethan. He suddenly reached out, pulling me into his embrace and pressing me close. No, I don't want us to be over. Grace, you still love me, don't you? You're just angry now, angry about me and Chloe, right? I'll change, I'll delete Chloe right now. Please don't be angry, okay? Looking at him, I felt a profound sense of calm. So this was what it felt like to face pleading, a calm, even slightly annoyed, heart. Had felt this way when he faced my earnest pleas in the past? Looking at Ethan now, I only felt how utterly ridiculous I had been. I pushed Ethan, telling him to let go, but he completely ignored me, holding me even tighter. I was starting to struggle for breath. Just then, Ethan, who was holding me captive, was suddenly pulled away by another powerful force, and I fell into another embrace. I was startled and looked up, seeing Leo's chin. Ethan was bewildered. He narrowed his eyes, watching Leo holding me. Grace, how dare you have an affair? I hadn't intended to continue speaking with Ethan, but his words instantly ignited my anger. I pulled away from Leo's embrace, rushed to Ethan, and slapped him across the face. Ethan was stunned by the slap, covering his face, motionless for a long time. Ethan, don't project your own small-mindedness onto others. Leo and I are completely innocent. Not everyone keeps a mistress like you do. Besides, we're already divorced. So what if I'm dating someone? It's none of your business. Ethan reached out to grab me. Even after I laid out the facts, he still tried to argue. No, it's not like that, Grace. I had my reasons. Were all our loving memories fake? I laughed. Ethan, don't you have a conscience saying that? You were the one who personally destroyed our home. Ethan stared blankly at me. I had no desire to argue with him further, so I pulled Leo into the car and drove off. In the car, Leo remained silent. I was speechless. This was nothing like Mom said about him liking me for years. Who could tell he liked me like this? Eventually, I broke the silence. Where's your place? I'll drop you off. Leo finally spoke, somewhat awkwardly. Grace, I want to pursue you. Can you give me a chance? I was startled and quickly pulled the car over to the roadside. Only then did I look at Leo. Seeing his gaze falter and avoid mine, I finally understood. He wasn't aloof, he was just shy. I chuckled, and suddenly leaned closer. Sure enough, Leo immediately stiffened. He hesitated, saying, Grace, isn't it a bit too soon for a kiss? I found his words amusing. I reached out and lightly tapped his forehead. Dream on. Leo visibly relaxed at my words, but then a hint of regret appeared in his eyes. I found it entertaining. It seemed quite nice to be pursued by someone who genuinely liked me. I agree. Leo blinked at my words, and it took him a while to process them. Then he immediately burst into a smile. Seeing his smile, I suddenly felt my mood lift as well. So you can smile. Leo's smile froze at my comment, and then I actually detected a hint of grievance in his expression. I said a few reassuring words, and he immediately cheered up again. Speaking of which, Leo was 2 years younger and me. It seems younger partners are quite appealing. Finally, I drove Leo home and returned to my own place. That evening, while I was dealing with work matters, I habitually reached for water, but only realized the glass was empty when I picked it up. I had to get up to pour some water. However, my mind was still on the work issues, so I didn't notice the water had overflowed. The overflowing water scalded my hand directly. With no other option, I had to quickly endure the pain and go to the hospital to get it bandaged. The doctor instructed me to keep it wrapped in bandage for the next few days and avoid water, or it could easily get infected. So, I had to go to work with a bandaged hand. Everyone I met on the way asked a few concerned questions, and I replied to each that I had accidentally scalded myself. After arriving at my office, I had just sat down when hurried footsteps sounded outside. The next second, my secretary's voice came through. "Ms. Grace, Mr. Leo from the G would like to see you." I nodded, letting him in, wondering what he was doing here. As entered, his eyes immediately fell on my hand. He took out the antibiotic ointment he had prepared and was about to apply it to me. Unable to resist him, I sat on the sofa, obediently waiting for him to finish applying it. He looked at my hand intently, a hint of panic in his expression. My heart suddenly softened. Perhaps, being with Leo wouldn't be so bad after all. Thinking this, I suddenly asked him, "What do you think about Mom's suggestion for an arranged marriage for me?" Leo paused his movements, then casually continued to apply the medication. His tone seemed nonchalant, but he was incredibly nervous. "Of course, I respect your decision. Follow your heart, you don't need to consider me. I just want you to be happy." Seeing him like this, I couldn't bear to tease him any longer. I spoke directly, "I agree. Let's get engaged." Leo was genuinely stunned this time. He blinked, glanced at me, then continued to slowly apply the medication. I, on the other hand, was full of questions. What did that mean? Was he agreeing or not? Finally, when he finished applying the medication, before I could react, Leo suddenly leaned in and kissed my forehead. I looked at him. He said cheerfully, "All right, it's sealed now. No backing out." I smiled, actively wrapping my arms around his neck, and kissed his lips. "Let me show you. This is how you seal it." Leo was truly dumbfounded this time. His face grew redder and redder, until I felt like he was about to boil. I quickly let go of him. Seeing how happy he was, I felt a slight headache. He reacted like this to just one kiss. What would happen in the future? I was helpless, yet also very excited. Days passed one by one. On the eve of Leo and my engagement, a torrent of insults suddenly appeared online, targeting me. I took the phone handed to me by my colleague, and found it ridiculous to watch Chloe crying in the video, accusing me of various things. I didn't know what was going on between her and Ethan, but it seemed Ethan wasn't as concerned about her as he used to be. She went on a live stream, crying into the camera, claiming how I had interfered in her relationship with Ethan. She accused me of forcing her to abort her baby, forcing Ethan not to marry her, and a whole host of other things I knew nothing about. Chloe had an innocent appearance, and with her tears, she looked even more pitiable and beautiful on camera, attracting countless thoughtless netizens to speak up for her, and inciting them to curse at me. I sneered at Chloe on my phone. I hadn't originally intended to post those videos, audio recordings, and photos, but since Chloe had practically delivered herself to me, it wouldn't be right not to share them. I glanced at the online comments, and noticed that the insults hurled at me were the same few phrases repeated over and over. If they weren't tired of seeing them, I certainly was. Things like bitch, Irrecker, why does she get to live well? I didn't care about any of it. I was in the middle of editing the evidence, intending to post it, when my secretary suddenly came in and said someone downstairs insisted on seeing me, claiming his surname was Gu. I understood. It must be Ethan. I had thought Ethan had completely disappeared from my life, but I never expected to still be entangled with him. I had an idea. I quietly tapped something on my phone, then propped it up nearby. Only then did I tell my secretary to bring him in. He walked in, and upon seeing me, immediately started explaining frantically. "Grace, I didn't tell her to say any of that. Don't misunderstand me. I've made it clear to her not to cling to me. But she's pregnant with my child. I can't just abandon her." I was exasperated. Ethan always tried to appear so innocent, as if he were a pure facade, untouched by the world. But in reality, he was just avoiding the problem. Even though he caused everything, he refused to admit it. I waited for him to finish rambling, then slowly began. Ethan, do you remember how we met? At that, Ethan suddenly seemed confident. Of course I remember, Grace. We met in the handicrafts club during freshman recruitment at college. We both picked out the same type of beads and made identical beaded bracelets. Ethan finished in one breath. After he spoke, he gave me a smug look, as if to say, since he remembered it all, I must be madly in love with him. I smiled faintly and asked, then, do you remember where your beaded bracelet is? Ethan looked confident again, but just as he was about to speak, his expression changed. Of course, I knew why his face suddenly changed. It was simply because he remembered that he had long given that beaded bracelet to Chloe to fidget with. Seeing his expression, I felt a sense of satisfaction. I said coldly, remembered now? Why didn't you say so? I'll say it for you. You already gave it to Chloe long ago. Ethan still tried to argue. I didn't mean to, Grace. And you can't blame me entirely. Who told you to go rummaging through my home office during that time? If you hadn't insisted on doing that, I wouldn't have done this. I laughed at that. So, Ethan, if I hadn't discovered it myself, how long were you planning to hide the fact that you liked Chloe from me? Before I found out, you'd been in contact with her for who knows how long. After I found out, you became even more blatant. You even brought your mistress home. Ethan, you're still trying to manipulate me even now. You're truly incorrigible. I'll release the evidence of your affair with Chloe. What I've suffered, you two will suffer too. After I finished speaking, no matter how much Ethan pleaded, I had the security guards escort him out. As for me, I picked up the phone that was running the live stream nearby, and smiled as I looked at the comments. Then I posted the evidence I had just compiled. In less than 2 hours, public opinion completely reversed. Netizens were now condemning both Ethan and Chloe, while the attacks on me stopped. Many netizens even came to apologize to me, saying they had previously misjudged the scumbag and bitch and had offended me. I ignored them all. These people couldn't even tell right from wrong, believing every rumor they heard. I saw no need to accept their apologies. After the situation reversed, Ethan's office's stocks plummeted. Several prearranged collaborations fell through. Ethan was overwhelmed and busy every day. After his pure facade was shattered, she no longer dared to go on live stream. She even posted a statement announcing her withdrawal from social media, hoping to garner sympathy, but unexpectedly, the comment section was full of insults directed at her. The photos I posted completely sealed their fate. Some even dug up the intimate video of them that I had played at the county's office. After these events, Ethan and Chloe got married, which I hadn't expected. But it's probably for the best. It saves someone else from getting hurt. I hadn't been idle either during this time. I had completely taken over the family business. My parents had successfully retired, and they'd made plans to travel the world together. The day I saw them off at the airport, Mom winked at me. Make sure to treat Leo well. You're looking forward to some good news from you too. I pretended to be shy and leaned against Mom's shoulder. Mom, you're so annoying. Mom just smiled and then walked hand in hand with Dad to board their flight. Watching them walk away, it suddenly occurred to me that it used to be the same when I was a child. I'd watch my parents walking hand in hand and think that someday, I wanted to find someone like Dad, someone wholeheartedly devoted to only one person, just like he was to Mom, to spend my life with. I had once thought Ethan was that person, but after everything that happened, I realized how wrong I was. Thankfully, my hardships were finally over. Just then, a pair of large hands intertwined with mine. I didn't turn around, but I knew it was Leo. He chuckled and leaned his head closer to mine. Don't be sad. Are you jealous your aunt and uncle are off traveling? After we get married, we'll go on our honeymoon, and we'll travel the world too. I smiled, meeting his gaze. Oh, so you're already researching honeymoon trips, huh? I haven't even said yes yet. Leo's face fell instantly. He gripped my hand even tighter and asked uncertainly, but we're already engaged. Are you really going to abandon me, boo-hoo, sis? I had no idea where Leo picked that up, suddenly calling me sis, but my heart immediately started pounding. It felt like I was falling for someone again. I looked at Leo, and he looked back at me. Thinking about spending the rest of my life with him, it actually seemed quite promising. Thank you for watching today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and share it with your friends. We look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments. Feel free to share your perspectives, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more exciting stories. See you next time.